Hello everybody and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host Derailious, and today we're going to be going over a few comments made on Twitter by the owner of the Hypixel network, Simon, who has a few things to say about the future of the game. Before we get into this, I just want to say, please make sure you like and subscribe down below if you are interested, as it really does help out the channel a lot. Also, make sure to join my Discord, as it's the best place to keep up with Skyblock News. Without any further ado though, let's launch right into this. So starting off here to give you a little bit of background, Simon has been making a few comments on Twitter, and today I'm going to be running you through the vast majority of the things he stated, which are basically going over the way the game is right now, how he feels about the game's financials, and also where he thinks the game is going to be going in the near future. So for this first statement he states, the team has been working non-stop on big updates for the past year. It takes time and sacrifices. The backend changes to support the future of Skyblock is the biggest project ever done on Hypixel. It's almost ready for Phase 1. Several posts were made about it. It's a big risk to do big updates because it comes at a cost, loss of players during dark times, and loss of income. Fortunately, we have been technical enough to predict these losses to cover the development during these bad times, and we are almost out of the waters. Cosmetic skin sales give us just enough to keep pushing development. Believe what you believe, I have run this for 12 plus years, and I know the team is doing the right thing for long-term prosperity of the server. If we were to only think short-term, we wouldn't be here. We could have done 10 updates for short-term gain, but we invested in proper long-term updates to support insane future content. If you ever run a server or business in your life, you might understand. Decisions like these are not easy and require a strong team and financial backing. This fundamentally makes a lot of sense. Obviously, the Foraging update is what he's referring to as the biggest update ever done for Hypixel, and the reason isn't necessarily because of the content of the Foraging update itself, but the backend changes involved in moving the server over to 1.20. He seems to understand here that these are the bad times, but he also makes note that these bad times are almost done, which is potentially a really good sign. Obviously, we've been hearing the Foraging update is coming soon for years now, but he really does seem to understand the player frustration here, and at the very least is cognizant of that, which I do appreciate. In a response to a player asking why so many skin fire sales have existed recently, he writes, "Read this post from 4 years ago. It's the reality of all online games with trading enabled. All known popular games in the world, including World of Warcraft, PoE, D4, etc., have the same curse because of the third-party websites doing illegal sales. It's been like this since the 90s. I played EverQuest and RuneScape back in the early days. I know a lot about online games. I'm old. Without these changes, the server would simply be under 1,000 players or offline. We were draining resources at a rapid pace due to third-party scammers, traders, and exploiters. Whether we did the changes or not, third-party websites were doing it. There is no win scenario. No one is drowning in money from this. It allowed us to grow the team and have job security for them. I have other businesses and investments that do way better than the server. I just want the team to be taken care of." What he's referring to here is the concept of booster cookies, fire sales, etc., and what he's basically saying is, it was either they did things like booster cookies, like these sort of pay-to-win aspects, or else other people would be doing them. Hypixel would make no money from that, and they would drain their resources attempting to update the game, and the game would simply fail. It's basically a curse that pretty much every major online game has, and it makes sense here. I do understand what he's trying to say. Of course, this isn't like a perfect scenario. In a perfect world, he wouldn't have to do things like that. In a perfect world, booster cookies wouldn't exist, and in a perfect world, everyone would be able to get the cosmetics they would want with in-game coins. But that's not how things work. What he also states here, and I think it's pretty interesting, is that the server is not drowning in money. He's not sitting there with $50 million coming into his pockets every 2 years or every year or so. He's making enough to keep the server alive and to make sure that the team has enough money to, be safe in their life, which I do appreciate. He seems like he takes care of the team as a whole. The Hypixel community team seems to be doing pretty good in terms of their development of the game. They've been trying their best. Recently, there's been a lot more communication. So I really do have faith in what he's saying here, and I do think it's pretty interesting. The thread that he links, by the way, is the original Skyblock update 0.8, talking about booster cookies and why they needed to be done. Basically, it needed to exist in order to keep the game running. When asked a question about how he feels about players having things like 8 trillion coins in net worth or certain players being very far ahead of each other, he states this: "I don't really have an opinion because the same question could be applied to real life. Why keep going if others are doing better? Every single online game is like this. I have friends in WoW with massive amounts of gold that can buy their way in all raids and content, which is worse. Just think about EVE Online. Massive economy game has the same issue. Games need more and different ways of progression independent of wealth. Just like you can't really buy your way into maxing all skills in the game, like the next update coming up," which he obviously is referring to Foraging here, or at least the next big update. And I do understand what he means here. He's basically saying that in other games, you're able to just buy your way through content. He doesn't want Skyblock to be that way, and he also doesn't really get the frustration certain players have where they're like, why should I keep playing if other players have 1 trillion coins? He believes that the game should have ways to progress that are independent of the amount of money you have. Makes a lot of sense here. Lastly, we have a comment from Simon regarding the Foraging update. He states that the Foraging update will use new Minecraft blocks, items, and more. This alone is a big deal for content, but the team will keep working to be able to use custom 3D models and more, and the possibilities will become endless. Imagine a boss fight with a custom model. Just saying the stuff that they could work on in Skyblock will become infinite. We should also work on new player experience, but that's a far future thing, adding UI features and other neat elements to improve the player experience. All of this will require massive investment for artists and development, so it will be quite the challenge. Been through fire and hell many times, thriving under chaos. It's going to be fun times ahead, and I'm investing heavily to make this happen." Once again, this just shows his personal excitement for things like the Foraging update, but it also shows that they're not stopping alone at new Minecraft blocks and items. They want to go fully into 3D models. They want to make things customized and special for the server, and I really do have faith in them. Obviously, it's taken a very long time to get to this point, and this is just his own personal thoughts, but I do think it's interesting to see someone who has been in charge of the server, who has been there so many years, say stuff like this in a very personable manner, and I really do appreciate him going on Twitter and saying stuff like this at all, because the alternative is just nothing happening and communication remaining stagnant. So really appreciate you, Simon. I know in the comments there will probably be hundreds of people saying that they appreciate you as well. I do really like this sort of stuff, and I hope it continues in the future, and I have faith in what they're doing. Overall, while I do understand that that was a very different style of video than what you're normally used to, I will be sure to turn on Subway Surfer's gameplay in After Effects so that you guys can remain interested. If I don't, feel free to harass me in the comments. Overall though, I do think that the game is going to be in a good state once stuff like the Foraging update drops. We've been talking about 1.20 features and what it's going to end up like for a long time now, and it's just interesting to see Simon's personal thoughts about it, considering he's been at the helm for so many years now. I do wonder when we're actually going to see further information about things like the Foraging update, but I imagine it's going to be in the relatively early part of 2025, or at this rate, 2028. We'll have to wait and see, though. At the end of the day, though, my name's Derailious. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.